or the soccer as the Americans would call it. All these teams, they advertise Carlsberg and all these different alcoholic drinks, these companies. And these companies, they pay them huge amounts of money to advertise this on the t-shirts. And also in the stadium, many of the stadiums are fully funded by them. Yes? And this government, they also get a lot of tax money because a lot of tax is imposed on them. Yeah, every year when the budget comes out, most of these guys who are addicted to smoking and drinking, the first thing they do, oh, the budget is out. Has the price gone up? Yes, it's gone up by a few pennies again. Yes, does it make a difference to them? No. Because how the government does it does it a few pennies every year. Yes, so in a few years, it's like 10 pounds more per packet of cigarette. Yes, per pint of drink. They don't notice this, but it eventually adds up. And in a year, they spend like thousands of pounds on these drinks, which doesn't benefit them but harms them. Yes, what does Allah say in the Quran? It says, when alcohol was forbidden, Allah did not forbid it overnight. By the wisdom of Allah, by the wisdom of the Creator, He said initially that there is some benefit in it, but the harm outweighs the benefit. So that was number one. So it is like indicating to the people who are intelligent that the harm is greater than the benefit. And everyone knows this today. But do they still smoke and drink? Yes, they do. Okay, those people who are addicted to it, they can't.
So is that with also like weed, stuff like that as well? Is that also?
Yep.
Absolutely. Anything that harms your body. Yes, the word that's used in the Quran is not just alcohol or something like that.
Any substance?
It's all encompassing. Anything that alters your mental state
So
beyond, like your cognition. Yes.
It includes drugs. It includes everything.
We're talking about recreational drugs of all sorts. Because if you really think about it, alcohol is a drug. It's just marketed better.
And then the second phase, what does God say? It says, do not approach the prayers while you're drunk. So again, now He's trying to tell them that you can't approach prayers. And prayers, the Muslims pray 5 times a day. So for them to abstain from it, it becomes a challenge again. Okay? And the third time, when the revelation came, it was like now it's forbidden. So it came in stages. The wisdom behind this? If you look at any rehab clinics, they don't go cold turkey for the people who are going through the rehab. So if they go cold turkey, it impacts them badly. So it's counterproductive actually. So they wean you off gradually. Yes. So say for example, if you drink maybe how many smoke a whole packet one day, they take away one cigarette from that and they say maybe you can smoke. Or maybe drug addicts or alcohol or whatever it is. So they wean you off gradually until you stop drinking altogether or you stop the drugs altogether. And this is the wisdom behind it. And that's why Allah didn't do it overnight. He could have if He wanted to. Yeah. So this is one prohibition in the Quran. Like this, other things are prohibited, like adultery, fornication, gambling, yes, killing obviously, murder, all these things. So if you look at everything that Allah is prohibited in the Quran, you will never disagree with any of them. All the prohibitions are there for a reason. Yes, and alcohol is not just something that you harm yourself as an individual. Someone who is drunk can knock off someone who never drinks in their life. Yes, and this is again not only for themselves. Maybe their family are sitting in the car with them who don't drink or who did not drink that day, and they kill that family, unfortunately. And maybe a family walking on the footpath because they lost control of the car, they knocked off as well. Yes, today if you go to any medical service, any emergency service, doesn't matter if it's Australia or the UK, you'll find every weekend there's huge cases of people who are drunk. And these people are intelligent people. During the day, they might have a respectful job, maybe as a teacher, maybe even as a nurse. Yeah. So they might be in the medical field or a teaching field where they are fully aware of the consequences. But because it becomes a social thing, because of the peer pressure, they start drinking and so on. But what does the Quran say? Again, remember I told you it's about obedience to God. And this is the purpose of life. That if we are obedient to our Creator, then our life as an individual, as a society, will be much better. I've seen people who were celebrities, when they started taking on gambling, they destroyed themselves, destroyed their family, lost all the money that they had earned during their celebrity life. Yes? And they became in such a state that they were literally begging for money. They started lying to their friends to borrow money from them. They were indebted, And speaking of that, there's another thing that Islam prohibits is interest rates. Most interest. So the banks, they charge you a lot of interest. You know why it's prohibited? Because most of the people who need to borrow money, are in need of money. Yes, except for those millionaires who already have millions. They want to borrow more money because they know that this is the way they can save taxes. Yes, but again, the harm always falls on the people who borrow money and who cannot pay it back. Yes, and the rich become richer and the poor become poorer, become more indebted, and they destroy the lives.
You could look at how the International Monetary Fund has the whole continent of Africa as like financially enslaved, because African countries are so in debt to European countries and North America that they cannot even make the interest payments on their debt. So that's kind of the whole point. Like, it's a financial enslavement tool that puts the needy under a position they can't get out of, basically. Yes, precisely. And that's why actually in return they get to exploit the natural resources of Africa as a ways of, you can't pay us our interest, so we're going to take your natural resources. So that's the wisdom behind why
modern slavery.
Yeah, exactly.
And this, look, it's just snowballs from there, and that is another thing which Allah has prohibited. Yeah, because for us, if we borrow capital from someone, we expect to receive the same capital. Yes, and this is the reason many young people today cannot afford houses is because of the same reason. They put up the interest rate so high that by the time they finish paying for the house, which might have cost 100,000, will end up costing double that money. And young people today, they just have to borrow more money because they have to rent and they have to borrow money for that as well, because the wages are not enough for them. So it becomes a huge burden on the society. And this, again, like I said, is not just for the individual, but it affects the whole society. And Islam again brings a solution to this. What is the solution? Don't demand interest. Pay the capital that they have offered you, and this way it helps the people as well. Today, even in a non-Muslim community, who spend the most money for charity? It is the Muslims. We just passed the month of Ramadan. You guys heard of Ramadan? Okay, Ramadan is when the Muslims fast. But they don't just fast in the month. They actually start doing a lot of good things, including giving charity, because it's again an obligation for people who earn money, who have money, to give 2.5% of their savings. 2.5%, yeah. So for every $100, I don't know, Australian dollars, I think, you give $2.5. Yes. But if you have over 1,000, you give accordingly 2.5% of that. And imagine this: it will wipe out poverty in the world if this were done in an organized fashion, which Islam actually pays great emphasis on. So every year, you must have heard many of these millionaires and billionaires giving a lot of money in charity. They are philanthropists. Yes. Exactly. That is what it is for, because they know that they giving charity is something that is tax deductible, and that's the reason they give. But for us, we give it because our religion requires it, because God told us to, and the bigger picture of that is so that poverty is eliminated. How can we live and we fast? The whole purpose of fasting in the month of Ramadan is obviously for taqwa, the closeness to Allah. But the real reason is, like, for example, it makes us realize that there are other people who don't get 3 times meal, who don't get a one-time meal during the day. And how can we sleep on a full belly when they are going hungry? So charity is a huge portion within Islam. Some of the earliest hospitals built, long before the Europeans built them, were in Muslim countries. Some of these universities, which to this day, are in existence, were actually built by women. Yes.
The oldest university is still running today is in Morocco. It was built by a Muslim woman. Al-Qayrawaniyun. Or Al-Qayrawan, I think. But it's made by Fatima Al-Fihri. She's the scholar who started the university.
So Islam, many times you see in the newspapers or media that the Muslim women are downtrodden, they are the ones who are not educated and all this. But the Prophet's wife, she was one of the most educated in terms of the faith, and many of the companions used to come to her. She was a scholar. And this has always been from the time of the Prophet, that the women were always encouraged to seek knowledge. And this is huge. It's always been in the case of the Muslims. Again, you must have heard other things like, terrorism and all that. In the Quran, the only time when the fighting was involved was when when your life was something which was threatened. It was in the context of war. You don't just stand there and let yourself be slapped all around. You have to fight for your rights. And again, Islam not only goes beyond that as well. So even though you might be safe, and if you see some other country being oppressed by other country, which is the oppressor, then you have to help them. Just like in Europe when Hitler was oppressing a lot of people, the Europeans got together and they fought them. It wasn't turn the other cheek. They literally fought them with weapons. Yeah. But then today, unfortunately, what's happened, if you see in the Middle East, most of the wars that happen is because of the greed of the Western countries. Why was the war in Iraq? Do you guys remember? I don't think you guys are that young. Yeah, but you must have studied about it. Yeah, they were looking for weapons of mass destruction,
which didn't exist. Yeah,
but they still went to war, even though the United Nations told them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just few more minutes and we'll wrap up. Yeah. So, thanks for you guys.
It was a mistake that they went.
Yeah, but did any? The important thing is, even after they found out there was no weapons of mass destruction or all those dodgy dossiers that they came up with, they were all false. Nearly 1 million people died there. Yeah, million children. Children because of hunger.
5,000 children were actually dying because of not getting the medicine. Medicine was not coming into.
That was the big thing. There was a siege on medicine.
Yeah. And when they were asked that is this something that justifies? And there was, what was the name of the lady? He said, it is justified to kill children. So you see, the very morals that they went there with to save the women from oppression, to save the people from oppression, from the tyrant called Saddam Hussein, they ended up doing 10 times worse than what Saddam was doing in that very country. And who brought them to justice? Nobody. So yeah, I mean, look, Islam is all about justice, about safeguarding the oppressed people, about charity, about helping the needy and the poor, and then bringing them all, like I said, to live in harmony. And no one, look, if anybody imposes Islam, the religion on you, then they are not real Muslims. Because religion is something which you have to accept from your heart. It cannot be imposed on you. If it is imposed, you're fearing the person and not the creator. So everything that I said, like I said, everything that's been forbidden is there for a reason. And everything that's been implemented for you as a recommendation, like to help the needy, to help the oppressed, all these things are good for you and the society at large. Islam has been maligned a lot in the media, but look today, which is the fastest growing religion? You look at any census, and the answer will always be Islam. So even with all the negativity against the Muslim women, it is the women who accept Islam the most. Yes, from the Western, from even the Western countries.
It's funny because they hear a lot about women's rights issues with Islam, so they end up, that piques their interest, so they ends up looking into Islam for that specific reason. And then they end up finding that oftentimes that Islam provides them something that Western society does not. More rights or more, value that Western society does not. And that's how, and so it actually works in the opposite way that the media does.
So, I know you guys have to go, so just one final sentence. What I'm saying, look, I know you both are intelligent and the people have been listening as well, mashallah. All I'm saying is that think of this life more seriously. It is fun and enjoyment, obviously, and there's a limit to everything. But then think of that example I gave you about the transit and the final destination. Prepare for the final destination. Because like I said, one certainty is that we will all die one day. Yes, so think of that and then approach your life accordingly. I know you guys are still young, so am I, alhamdulillah, you know.
But so, you never know. Plenty of people cross the road and get hit by cars at different ages.
We don't know when our last breath will be.
Yeah.
So, you know,
morbid but true.
Keep seeking for the truth. Have your intention pure, that I want to seek the truth and ask if there is a creator out there, if there's someone who's looking after me, I implore you to guide me in the right direction. And do that on a daily basis, and you know, God willing, you guys will seek the truth, and inshallah, with God willing, you'll get hidayah, which is guidance from Allah. So thank you for your time, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Nice talking to you guys.
Okay. By the way, do you need a Quran or you got one?
I don't have one here. I'll
okay, let's
get her a Quran. 1 second.
So I made a video about that. That's insane.
But Hashim, you have a Quran for her. Can I have a Quran? Any of you have a Quran?
No. I give it already to.
No, we need another one. Bro. Can we get a Quran? Where's the Quran? I need a Quran.
Our aim is to educate people. We are not here to mock you, or to embarrass you, or to put you on the spot. You know, because I don't know if you, this is the first time you guys come here?
What's up?
This place, if you knew, is called
Ask him.
And this is where you can ask any question, and you can talk about any topic. So I think that there used to be a lot of politicians like Karl Marx, I think even Lenin, they all came here. So these guys, they used to come here and they used to talk because it represents freedom of speech and expression. And this is a unique place. I don't think you'll find such a place even in a Muslim country or in any other non-Muslim country except for England. They try to have such a place in many places. I'm pretty sure they tried it in Australia as well. But it hasn't worked anywhere except here. The reason is I think they have been given special jurisdiction from the parliament for the safeguard of this place. So when there's any trouble, the police come in many times.
Yeah, I see.
You can imagine, sometimes the tempers just fly. Yeah. We're just waiting for the Quran for this.
Did you send? I tried to find
Well, I'll
somebody.
tell you what. Are you guys going through the gate? The main gate?
Yeah, I think we're leaving, but I can read that one.
No, if you go through the main gate, just outside the gate, there's a guy standing with Quran. You just pick a copy from it. Okay?
Okay, let me go see if I can get them. The main gate, the
Take care,
one.
guys. Yeah. Follow the God of Jesus Christ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, assalamu alaikum.
I'm with
Jazak
Dawah.
Allah Khair.
Yeah, bro.
That was really good.
Thank you, bro. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless you. Where's the Dawah stand? I sorry, the Quran stand that is always here. Where is Oh, is it?
Just outside the gate.
Okay. The mic's not me. That's not they're not mine. So I don't know how to be honest with you. They just get stuck on me. Hey, brother, who do I give these to? Is cameraman?
Yeah, give it. Did Mansur give you a cup as well? I didn't know.
Yeah.
In that case, give that to. What is Siraj?
Is this okay?
Sometimes Siraj embarrasses us sometimes. The things he says honestly. Without the Quran, there is no science. I mean, what kind of a statement is that? Where is he? I need to speak to him.
When the revelation was given.
You should get a mustache like this.
He does. No, just stand on this side. You've got cameras. Cameras everywhere. No, yeah, they're going that way. They're going. This is the last
It's basically American popular arts industry. Whereas when they give money to
So don't use the money to buy America, the money and you just wipe it off your account. The weird thing is that it's all by your boss and paid by the same.
in Israel, definitely never goes against America. There's a lot of Muslims people in the Dawah channels. There's not many Jews, so So this is one of the things I love about what I do. You want to know what I love about this is that often you go to the yeah, I saw that 1888 and say like brother. It says in the Bible it says that those